And I said, I only have one stock. I said, I mean, and he says, it's going to change everything. And I said, well, will it change whether people chew gum? And he said, well, probably not. And I said, well, will it change what kind of gum they chew? And not. And I said, well, then I'll stick to chewing gum and you stick to computers, you know. I don't have to understand all kinds of business. There's all kinds of business I don't understand. But there's thousands of opportunities there. I did understand the Bank of America, you know, and I'll be able. I'm able to do that. I'm able to understand some given percentage. But Ted Williams wrote a book called The Science of Hitting, and in The Science of Hitting, he's got a diagram, shows him at the plate, and he's got the strike zone divided into 77 squares, each the size of a baseball. And he says, if I only swing at pitches in my sweet zone, which he shows there, and he has what his batting average would be, which is 400. If he had to swing at low outside pitches, but still in the strike zone, his average would be 230. He said the most important thing in hitting is waiting for the right pitch. Now, he was at a disadvantage because if the count was 0-2 or 1-2 or so on, even if that ball was down where he was only going to bat 230, he had to swing at it. In investing, there's no called strikes. People can throw Microsoft at me and, you know, you name it, any stock, General Motors, and I don't have to swing. And nobody's going to call me out on called strikes. I only get a strike called if I swing at a pitch and miss. So I can wait there and look at thousands of companies day after day, and only when I see something I understand and when I like the price at which it's selling, then if I swing, if I hit it, fine. If I miss it, it's a strike. But it's an enormously advantageous game. And it's a terrible mistake to think you have to have an opinion on everything. You only have to have an opinion on a few things. In fact, I've told students, if when they got out of school, they got a punch card with 20 punches on it, and that's all the investment decisions they got to make in their entire life, they would get very rich because they would think very hard about each one. And you don't need 20 right decisions to get very rich. You know, 4 or 5 will probably do it over time. So I don't worry too much about the things I don't understand. If you understand some of these businesses that are coming along and can spot things on, if you can spot on Amazon, for example, I mean, it's a tremendous accomplishment what Jeff Bezos has done. And I tip my hat to him. He's a wonderful businessman. He's a good guy, too. But could I have anticipated that he would be the success and 10 others wouldn't be? I'm not good enough to do that. But fortunately, I don't have to. You know, I don't have to form an opinion on Amazon. And I did form an opinion on the Bank of America, and I formed an opinion on Coca-Cola. I mean, Coca-Cola's been around since 1886. There's 1.8 billion 8-ounce servings of Coca-Cola products sold every day. Now, if you take 1 penny and get 1 penny extra, that's $18 million a day. And 18 million times 365 is 7 billion, 3 less 730 billion, or $6,570,000,000. So annually, $6,570,000,000 from 1 penny. Do you think Coca-Cola is worth a penny more than, you know, Joe's Cola? I think so. So, you know, and I've got about 127 years of history that would indicate it. So those are the kind of decisions I like to make. And you may have an entirely different field of expertise than I would have, and probably much more up to date in terms of the kind of businesses that we're seeing evolve. And you can get very rich if you just understand a few of them and understand their future.
What is it that you two share? What makes this friendship so satisfying for both of you?
Well, I think we both certainly share a curiosity about the world, and we come from 2 different but related worlds. So I think we probably spent about 10 hours of this 1-hour visit that Bill was scheduled on July 5th, 1991. His mother had to talk him into it. And we weren't halfway. I mean, we had gotten no place in terms of our eventual agenda just in that time. In fact, the governor of Washington came by, and Bill's dad had to come into the bedroom and pull us out of it. We didn't want to. He was a little embarrassed we were talking to him. Well, we have fun to start with. Right. I mean, every relationship should have a lot of fun in it. And we find the world in just such an interesting place. So we like to compare notes on it. When we compare notes, we have a lot of fun doing it.
part of the time, as I remember the conversation, by the way, there's a remarkable documentary about Warren, which is on HBO. I think it premieres on January 30th, on Monday. Yeah. You should take time to take a look at it. Bill's involved in that, and you will see, in a sense, it's called, I think, Becoming Warren Buffett.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Becoming. Took me 86 years, but I got there.
You're doing well on it, though, aren't you?
Well, so far, yeah. But best is yet to come.
And one of the things that happened tonight, Bill, was that I guess your dad at the dinner said, you know, what's been the most important quality for you? And you found out that you and Warren had the same word.
Yeah, I think curiosity, which Warren mentioned, is an amazing thing where you try and predict what's going to happen, and then when it doesn't, you sort of think, well, you know, that drug didn't get invented, that stock didn't go up, that approach wasn't popular. What is it about my model of the world that's wrong? You know, who could I talk to? What could I read? And the things that have happened since 1991, mostly good things, have been amazing and just, you know, so much fun to talk about. You know, so, you know, we read the news and we think, God, what did Warren think about that?
You both are readers. You read all the time, all day, Warren. Bill, you're a reader. You also do a lot of sort of courses online as well. I mean, what does that have done? What has that done for your life? The sense of constantly learning.
Well, go ahead, Bill.
It's an incredible time to be a learner. I remember when I was young, you know, I had the World Book, which is one of Warren's products, and it was very good. But you know, I always felt like, God, I want to get into this in more depth. I want to understand it better. Today, the videos that are online and the courses that you can buy with the very best professors, it's phenomenal. You know, take a subject like weather or climate change, you know, or what's going on in economics, what's known, what's not known. Now with the foundation, a lot of what I need to learn is about biology, making vaccines and what's going on with these various diseases. This is a phenomenal time to be a curious person. The information that's out there, you know, I have my biggest problem is that I stay up too late because I'm reading and then I'm a little bit tired the next day.
The other thing that you share other than reading is optimism. You believe in America.
Absolutely.
You have said to me more than once, I would give up a year of my life just to know what the next 50 is going to be like.
Yeah, even the next 4 now. I mean,
why'd you pick 4?
I don't know, just number that came to me. It is just fascinating what's happened just in my lifetime. You know, in the 86 years. I should mention one thing about reading. It was at the library here at Columbia that I wish I spent probably more time than any other student. I lived there practically, but you know, I pulled the book out there. Happened to be Who's in America, and it told me something about my professor Benjamin Graham. And then I looked up and I went to the library and I said, I want to learn more about this because I learned this over here. That changed my whole life. You know, we own Geico now because of that librarian directing me to some other book and then following through on that. It's the chance. I read about 1/5 the pace that Bill does, but I still spend 5 or 6 hours a day reading. I mean, it just, you can learn so much. I particularly love biography. Just you know, to be able to live the lives of these people that have been so extraordinary, the lessons and the, you know, the discouragements they face, just everything about it. So you can't get enough of reading.
What surprises you most about Bill?
That's an interesting question. I guess what really surprised me is initially we just found so many things to connect on. He did try to sell me a computer. That's probably the only sale he didn't make, although the computer changed my life for the better in a big way subsequently. But, well, he just had this same curiosity.
Yeah. And the other word you have used is focus.
Well, the focus is no question about it. I mean, both of us got to where we are in a big way because of focus.
Bill, what surprises you about Warren?
I was so amazed that he comes to investing with this broad model of the world. So one of the first questions he asked me was, hey, Microsoft's a small company, IBM's this huge company. Why can you do better? Why can't they beat you at the software game that you're playing? And I always, every day I was thinking about, okay, what advantage do we have? What do we do? But nobody ever asked me that question. And we talked about the economics of software, which is a very different and special thing. And he could relate it to things that he'd seen. And I didn't understand banking, why some get ahead and some don't. And so he was able to put that in very clear terms. And so I found somebody whose model was rich enough that it helped me understand things that I really wanted to know. And we could laugh about things that were a surprise to us. I'd say his humility and his sense of humor really stood out in this incredible way. I mean, he enjoys what he does and he shares that with other people. And even, when I ask questions that are pretty naive, that he's probably been asked 50 times, he's very nice about, well, it took me a long time to figure this out, Bill, but here's how it works.
I tried Bill out with some non-transitive dice. And I'd read about them in Scientific American or someplace. And there were only 2 people in the world in the history of these dice that actually figured it out while I was trying to take their money from them. And one was the leading symbolic logician in the world, and the other was a drunk who didn't really know any better and asked the wrong question. But Bill said, wait a second, you choose first, and the game was over.
You taught him, you didn't teach him, but you brought him into a great appreciation of bridge.
Yeah, he'd play bridge, but the family is very big on games. His family was very, very big on games, and so we played bridge together, and we played in China, going down the great rivers when we were supposed to be looking at the scenery. We had a good time playing bridge.
All right, we've got a lot of questions we want to talk from the audience. We want to start up in the balcony, so we haven't forgotten you. It's hard to see, but is there a number there that has a question? Okay, start it wherever it is. Yes, number 6.
Thank both of you guys for being here today. My question is in regards to public health and vaccinations. Given our current president's publicly stated stance against the use of vaccinations, both in this country and abroad, how would you recommend that we, as students and future leaders in the health sciences, best allocate our resources to most effectively resist his alternative fact political philosophy in regards to domestic and global public health? Thank you.
Well, Bill?
That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Well, the facts about vaccines are very clear and very strong, which is both that they're safe and that the vaccine schedule has been designed to reduce disease. And the more parents that adhere to it, the more not only their children will be protected, but you have some kids who are immune deficient. And so unless the kids around them are protected, then it puts those kids at risk. And there are diseases like measles or pertussis that all it takes is a small cluster, and then mostly those diseases would be coming in from overseas, but you can get infection, and in some European countries you've had deaths because the kids weren't vaccinated. I don't think the U.S. government is going to come out with any negative statements. There may be a commission, and fortunately, if you look at the facts are quite unequivocal. We certainly are speaking out in favor of vaccines. So I'm a little surprised that we have to stick up for them, but it's true in every country that you get these rumors, and particularly in today's media, those rumors can get out and ahead of the facts because the rumors are sort of more salacious or, contrary to what you've been told type things. Here, I'm sure we'll have a chance, if necessary, to go through the facts again and get a clear positive message from the government.
And the risk is, if vaccines somehow, people are scared of having vaccines, the risk is?
Well, we're engaged right now in polio eradication. And the only way that succeeds is to get 95% of the kids to have these vaccines. And there we ran into a form of anti-vaccine sentiment that's even worse than U.S. rumors, and that is that 2 terrorist groups, one in Nigeria, Boko Haram, and another one in Pakistan, Afghanistan, the Taliban, said that vaccination was a U.S. plot and, would sterilize women, and it was a very bad thing. And they took the women who were going out to the children's houses and giving these oral drops, oral polio vaccine, and actually killed a number of them. And so those negative rumors, the only reason we still have polio today that we're not done is because of that part of Nigeria that Boko Haram's caused unrest in the border areas, including Baluchistan in Pakistan, where there have been these anti-vaccine sentiments. So, our risk is simply those negative things. So it's not just in rich countries that we run into this. It absolutely causes deaths if parents don't know. Bring your kids in and get them fully vaccinated.
And your drive to eradicate polio is to show that you can do it.
Well, it started in 1988 when it already had been eradicated in the Americas. So these were the U.S. in the 60s, the rest of the Americas in the 70s, showed that it could be done. And so in 1988, well before our foundation was involved, Rotary and a number of other organizations said, let's get rid of this. And it's been harder than was expected just because of these sentiments. Here we are in 2017, last year, less than 50 cases. So we are very, very close. In fact, there's so few cases now, the way that we track where the virus is we go and look at sewage samples, and we see, because a lot of kids get infected and pass it along without getting paralyzed. And so it's only through these sewage samples we know that there's still about 4 places in Pakistan and Afghanistan and 1 place in Nigeria that we haven't gotten there yet.
All right, let's see the next question. I got to see a card. Number 1.
Thank you both so much for being here. My question, again, is a little bit on the political spectrum. I was wondering what you're both most hopeful about in this new political environment we have, and also what you're both most worried about.
You want to take hope or worried, Warren?
Well, I'm confident that America will move ahead. It's been, from the time I was born until now, the real GDP per capita of this country has gone up 6 for 1. I mean, nobody ever dreamt that would be possible. And when you look at what's happened in this country over 240 years, it's an absolute miracle. When I went to Columbia Business School in September 1950, 1 woman in the class. I mean, this country moves forward, and you can't stop it. So I'm enormously optimistic. I say the luckiest person born in the history of the world is the baby being born today in this country. And we will go and, everybody, half the country always is going to be somewhat unhappy, close to half, about the last election. But I grew up in a household in the late 1930s. My dad was very Republican. My sisters and I didn't get dessert unless we said something bad about Roosevelt. I mean, it was required. And I heard all these apocalyptic views about after his 3rd term there'll be no more elections. I've been hearing that all my life, and year after year after year, with occasional hiccups and an occasional seizure like we had in 2008 and 2009. But this country, it's all profit, folks. I mean, when I came in, just think of what it would have been like in 1776. Nothing here. Yeah. And now we've got...
And the velocity of change
it just keeps moving.
Day.
I mean, guys like Bill, they don't quit. Yeah. I mean, he moves on to something like polio. He mentions 50 cases in the world. There were more than